Wedding dresses symbolize hope and new beginnings, but sometimes they can carry the echoes of a past that refuses to be forgotten. Claire has always dreamed of wearing a vintage gown on her big day, convinced it would bring an air of timeless romance. One afternoon, she stumbles upon the perfect lace dress in a quaint boutique. The delicate stitching, the antique pearls, everything seems ideal. Yet the moment Claire slips it on, she glimpses a vision of terror. A woman screaming in a mirror, the veil of her wedding day twisted by an unspoken horror. Claire's engagement had been a whirlwind. Between planning the venue, choosing decorations, and balancing her busy schedule, she barely had time to breathe. Still, her heart soared whenever she thought of walking down the aisle. Wandering into a hidden boutique, she marveled at the array of vintage gowns, each with its own story to tell. The shop's owner, an elderly woman with kind eyes, welcomed her warmly. Claire's gaze gravitated toward a dress unlike any she'd seen. Lace sleeves that cascaded into a gentle train, embroidered floral motifs that shimmered under the shop's dim lighting. She felt an inexplicable pull, as if the dress had been waiting for her. The moment she ran her fingers over the delicate fabric, a fleeting shiver raced up her spine. Like a whispered warning she chose to ignore. Eager to show her fiancé and friends, Claire arranged for a fitting the following day. But late that night, as she drifted off to sleep, she dreamed of a woman standing before an ornate mirror, tears streaming down her face. The woman's image blurred and crackled, leaving Claire with an unsettling sense that something, or someone, was calling out to her through this bridal gown. If a beautiful vintage item gave you chills at first touch, would you heed the warning or dismiss it as a trick of the mind? The next afternoon, Claire returned to the boutique for her fitting. Slipping into the gown felt surreal, like stepping into another era. The lace hugged her figure perfectly, and she couldn't help but admire the train's delicate patterns in the full-length mirror. However, the overhead lights flickered, and in that brief disruption, a flicker of movement caught her eye. Looking closer, she saw the faint outline of a woman's face reflected behind her, wide-eyed, lips parted in a silent scream. Then, in an instant, the light steadied, and the mirror showed only Claire, heart pounding. Startled, she tried to laugh off the moment, chalking it up to fatigue. But the sensation lingered, an inexplicable heaviness in her chest. She thought of telling the boutique owner but hesitated, not wanting to come across as frantic or superstitious. After all, a wedding was supposed to be a joyous occasion, not a journey into hidden fears. That evening, as she carefully hung the gown in her closet, Claire couldn't shake the feeling that she wasn't alone. The memory of that distorted face stayed with her, a silent warning pressed against her consciousness. Would you share your eerie experiences with loved ones and risk sounding irrational, or investigate quietly on your own? Days passed, and every time Claire glanced at the dress, she felt a strange mixture of excitement and dread. Determined not to let fear overshadow her wedding plans, she immersed herself in choosing flowers, picking out invitations, and finalizing the menu. Yet at night, a new dream would surface, a sprawling manor, candlelit corridors, and that faceless woman in a torn veil, wandering halls that felt both ancient and oddly familiar. One afternoon, Claire decided to do some digging. She'd recalled a small label sewn into the dress's seam, faded lettering that hinted at an old local designer. Visiting the city archives, she found records of a bridal salon from the 1920s. Its owner, Georgina Frost, had been known for exquisite craftsmanship, but there were also hushed rumors of a bride who disappeared on the eve of her wedding, wearing one of Georgina's most prized gowns. The deeper Claire dove, the more she felt as though she were unveiling a tragic story. Buried in old newspapers, she uncovered a single mention of the missing bride, identified only as Margaret. The article ended abruptly, offering no resolution. An uneasy knot coiled in Claire's stomach. Was it just a coincidence that her dress bore the same label, or was she stepping into the footprints of a bride whose final steps never led to an altar? Haunted by the name Margaret, Claire returned home to examine the gown under better light. She spread it out carefully on her bed, letting the train drape over the edge. Tiny pearls glimmered on the collar, and as she ran her hand across them, she noticed a hidden pocket stitched into the lining. Inside was a thin slip of paper, edges yellowed by time. Scrawled in shaky cursive, it read, "He promised me forever. Now I can't escape." A chill rippled through Claire. The message felt like a plea for help, as though the past bride had tried to leave one final trace of her sorrow. Later that night, as thunder rumbled in the distance, Claire found herself unable to sleep. She wandered to the living room, gown in hand, debating whether to lock it away. For a fleeting moment, she placed it against her body, imagining the grace it afforded. That's when lightning flashed, illuminating the mirror on the wall. To her horror, she caught a glimpse of the bride from her nightmares, her mouth stretched in a silent scream. The vision vanished as swiftly as it came, leaving Claire trembling and the gown slipping from her grip onto the floor. Hugging herself, she resolved to uncover the truth behind Margaret's vanishing, desperate to ensure her own wedding day wouldn't end in a similar tragedy. Claire enlisted the help of a local historian, Miss Caldwell, who specialized in unsolved mysteries. Over cups of tea in a cluttered study, Miss Caldwell listened intently to Claire's story, nodding at the mention of Georgina Frost's bridal salon and the missing bride. The historian revealed that Margaret had been set to marry a prominent businessman, rumored to be controlling, some even claimed dangerous. When Margaret disappeared, the official story suggested she'd run away, but local gossip insisted something far darker had happened. As the day wore on, Miss Caldwell unearthed an old photograph showing a pale young woman wearing a gown nearly identical to Claire's. Underneath, a date, June 12, 1925. The bride's eyes, though captured in black and white, seemed filled with dread. Each new revelation felt like stepping through a veil into a realm where heartbreak had left a stain on time itself. That evening, Claire went to the boutique to confront the owner about the dress's origins. She found the shop dark, the door locked. No one answered her knocks. Through the glass, she glimpsed mannequins draped in half-sewn gowns, eerily frozen in mid-gesture. She couldn't shake the feeling that everything connected to the dress was unraveling around her, like a tapestry frayed by decades of anguish. Sleep came fitfully that night. Claire dreamt of an ornate bridal suite, where Margaret sat in front of a gilded mirror, tears staining her embroidered veil. A dark figure loomed behind her, a presence suffused with anger and jealousy. Claire woke with a jolt, heart drumming in her ears. She knew what she had to do, break the cycle of despair once and for all. Armed with Miss Caldwell's research, she drove out to a grand estate once owned by Margaret's fiancé. The mansion stood in disrepair, shuttered windows guarding long-forgotten secrets. With each creak of the floorboards, Claire sensed she was trespassing on sorrow that had never healed. In the remains of an upstairs parlor, she found a cracked mirror draped in cobwebs. The reflection that stared back at her showed her own face, but superimposed upon it was Margaret's haunted gaze. Gathering her courage, Claire removed the wedding dress from its garment bag. Kneeling before the mirror, she gently spread out the gown and whispered a heartfelt plea for release. For Margaret, for the tortured spirit clinging to this artifact of love gone wrong. A sudden breeze swept through the parlor, and for an instant, Claire thought she saw the silhouette of a woman stepping free from the fabric, eyes brimming with both gratitude and sorrow. Moments later, the ancient mirror cracked, splintering across its surface. The hush that followed felt peaceful, as though an old wound had finally been healed. In that silence, Claire knew she could walk away, her own wedding day unbound by the curse of the gown. Thank you for accompanying us on Claire's journey through lace and lingering apparitions. If a cherished keepsake carried the imprint of a lost soul, would you dare to pursue its story or turn away to protect your own happiness? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you felt the flutter of something otherworldly in this haunted tale, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow Dare to Listen for more stories that blend romance and the realm of the unknown. After all, some vows echo far beyond their wedding day, sometimes for nearly a century.